Wisconsin Foodie would like to thank the following underwriters for their support: the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board and the Dairy Farm Families of Wisconsin, Outpost Natural Foods Co-op, and Superior Equipment and Supply.
Hi, I'm Justin Aprahamian, now owner of Sanford restaurants in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're off to finish our raviolis for the dinner tonight and then make sure everything's in order for Tory's arrival so that we can receive his influx of goods and produce when he arrives.
That's gonna work.
Thanks. See you later. We're checking out the menu for tonight's dinner with Tory. We won't print them until later to make sure all the details are in order, but this is what is slated to be served tonight.
Over my shoulder is the well-appointed dining room of Sanford, Milwaukee, and it evinces the great talent that's going to be in the kitchen here tonight. Both chefs, Tory Miller of L'Etoile and Madison, and the new chef owner, Justin Aprahamian here at Sanford, are the new wave. They've had the batons passed to them by the previous chefs of those two great nationally acclaimed restaurants, Odessa Piper and Sanford D'Amato. It's a combined menu. They're cooking courses and they're pairing it with this great up-and-coming Wisconsin brewer, George Bregar. It's a new way of thinking about cuisine, and it's the next wave of our good eating. It's not just nationally acclaimed restaurants, it's not just Wisconsin boys. It's one of the better meals you're gonna have.
Beer is another one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and it's another one of those things that since taking over the restaurant I'm going to try and push a little further. We're not going to neglect the wine list in any sense, but I'm really embracing the craft beer movement, and I've taken up cellaring beer as a very contagious hobby. I think great beer should have a place on a menu next to great wine and shouldn't be shied away from.
Hey, Chef.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Man?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Good timing. Great to have you in.
This is a duo dinner.
It is a duo dinner.
You and Tory are kind of heir apparents now in your own. I mean, Odessa, and she did that little, flirting with the beard thing, and Sandy did his. And
yeah.
Now both of you have had your own flirtations with the beard thing.
It's surreal, yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it's fair to say your two restaurants are the ones that put Wisconsin on the map. Anyway, are you afraid of a crowded kitchen with these big, dynamic cooking styles, two of them?
No, we're excited for it. I'm excited for the guys in the kitchen to get to see what Tory does and experience that. I know from working in one place for a long time, it's kind of nice to get somebody else into the kitchen, and we're excited because it's a big personality with Tory to come in. So me and Tory have so much in common, like the trajectory of what we have done. When we sat to plan the dinner, we were sitting up at a table in Madison, and all of a sudden it's just me and him talking about the process and going through this, like kind of kindred spirits on a lot of levels.
I like it. It's a good continuation. I mean, thank God both of you guys are the ages that you are and you're cooking at this level, because I want to eat in this state for the next 40, 50 years.
Well, we want to make that happen.
Yeah,
so
I'm kind of glad.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll get out of your hair. You cook.
Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Have a good one. This is some pre-portioned out braised duck hearts and sweet peas for a ravioli filling. A little mascarpone in there to kind of help bind it together. We're early on in the day, as you can see. We have nobody else here yet. People will start filing in a bit, but what I'll do is I just have a couple small projects to take care of, and then it'll be more fine-tuning, details, garnishes, kind of as the day goes on, and then it'll probably be chaotic when Tory shows up, and we'll help him unload and kind of get him situated.
The job of making a decent batch of beer in your home is really not that tough. It's making really, really good beer at home that's pretty tough. So we're about to make a starter for tomorrow's brew. We're making a stronger Belgian ale, so we like this particular strain. I have all my supplies here: dry malt extract, yeast nutrient, my yeast. A yeast starter, it's a process that you use to grow the right amount of yeast cells for the brew. You want to get your yeast used to being in beer wort and used to eating on the sugars that are in the beer before it's fermented. The day before you brew the beer, you make what's basically like a small beer. And then we take our hot water with dry malt extract and water, and you heat it up and let it boil just like you would like a little beer. I didn't promise that it would be like really exciting or riveting or anything. Boiling water in a kettle. Next on Wisconsin Foodie. The beer that we're making tomorrow is a Belgian style strong ale. It's sort of a hybrid between a Belgian double and a Belgian triple. So it's got some of the caramely, darker, malty characteristics of a double, a little bit sweeter like a double, but also some of the drier, citrusy, clean aspects that some triples have. So it's kind of a hybrid between the two. It won't be as sweet as caramely as a double, and it won't be quite as clear and dry as a triple. Yeah, we have a lot of what's needed to enjoy beer, wine, and coffee in this sink. And then you put your yeast in there, and they start to feed, and they start to eat the sugars, and they start to multiply, and they get used to being in the environment of beer, and they grow to the right amount of cells that you need for your actual beer. Now we will take the flasks and we will bring them into the closet where our stir plates are. So we just put our yeast starters on the stir plate. Started the stir plates up. You can kind of see that they're spinning around in there now. And they'll sit there for about 24 hours before we put them into the beer.
We are headed over to George's house to partake in brew nights. And it's a particularly special brew night because we're making the triple double for the dinner with Tory Miller.
I don't know anybody in the homebrew world that has a setup like George has down here. I would say this is probably a couple steps beyond homebrewing, and it's nice to be exposed to a setup like this because you can really concentrate on building the nuances of beer when you have total control over the variables.
So we've already weighed out our base malt over here, which is a Belgian Pilsen malt, and now we're just adding some special B and some flaked oats and some other things. Justin's gonna add those right now. Special B is a caramely kind of somewhat roasted malt that adds kind of like a figgy, date, caramel overtones to the beer. Commonly used, I think, in Belgian doubles, things like that. Half pound of acidulated malt. Now we can grind them up. Coming from a coffee roasting background and being in that industry for so long, we really felt like we wanted to have the same level of control in our home brewery as we do at work for roasting coffees. After you get through a few batches of homebrewing and you've gotten your basics down and you feel comfortable with the brewing process, inevitably you start making your own recipes, and that's when it gets pretty cool. The most exciting part is when you have a recipe that is really fine-tuned and it's a beer that you really love to drink, and you realize that you can't go to the store and buy that beer. You actually have to make the beer yourself if you want to taste that beer. That's always a great moment. Right now we're mashing in, so we're adding the malted barley and other specialty grains to a pre-measured amount of hot water. And we're gonna let those things steep together for about 60 minutes, or a little more actually. What's gonna happen is that the starches that are in the malted barley are going to convert into sugars that the yeast can gobble up and make beer with.
I don't have a ton of experience, so it's been really educational working with George and seeing what this beer starts as and what it's going to finish as, what all, what the grains do, what the hops do, what the malts are doing, and how that kind of builds the foundation of the beer and the nuances of the beer. So it's been a really treat, to get to work with them and do that, and then, tailor a beer towards some food, or, tailor some food towards the nuances of this beer.
What do you smell, Justin?
Breakfast.
I smell breakfast too.
The best breakfast.
Should we have breakfast?
Yeah, me and George have talked about definitely collaborating on some beers to get on the list at Sanford, kind of bridging that gap of his ideas, my ideas, and, some of our friends' ideas together.
So far, the process of working with Justin has been a lot of fun. It's always cool to collaborate with somebody else, because the end product is not something that you would get from yourself. We're gonna use East Kent Golding hops. My favorite part about brewing is the delayed gratification that comes from making a recipe, brewing the recipe, waiting, and then finally being able to taste the results. That's pretty cool.
We love the spirit of collaboration and working closely with different people, different capacities, beer makers, winemakers. And with the relationship with Tory, I mean, we both were nominated for James Beard Awards, and he won, very well deserved. People have said, yeah, maybe tonight's two of the best chefs in Wisconsin. There's so many great chefs and great people in this state. I'm kind of thinking of it as, getting to hang out with one of our friends and cooking a great dinner tonight.
Veal pastrami that we made. One of our farms happened to have 2 veal and didn't know what to do with them, so they slaughtered them. We took them, and I typically don't cook with a lot of veal, so I didn't know what else to do with it. So we made pastrami because you can kind of keep that hanging around for a long time. So this is a perfect opportunity to use it. Only the finest brew to steam it, man. Bring it back up to temp. It'll give it that nice Milwaukee hoppiness. Sanford has always been kind of like that legendary, destination restaurant for me. And I still remember the first time I ate here. I still remember everything I ate. It's like one of those places where it's like you just remember, coming here.
So thanks for joining us tonight. This is a very special evening for us to have good friends down from Madison. Just in the spirit of collaboration, we wanted to get together and cook. No real angles other than the fact that we're friends, and this is a good opportunity for us to hang out. So we split the menu up, that we each kind of did 2 savory courses, and then we figured dessert doesn't travel really well, so we made dessert here also. And the dessert's going to go with beer. We'll get to that later. Tory has the first course, so he will kind of fill you in on what you'll be getting momentarily. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're very excited to have you guys.
The first course is some things from this season and some from last season. So we have beets that we roasted and smoked, and those are from last year. We have some apples from last year that are Honeycrisp apples, which organic Honeycrisp, very little, super crunchy and very sweet and delicious, still from last fall. Then we have some Hoop House Sun Gold tomatoes, which are the really orange, sweet tomatoes. Some Hoop House cucumbers, some fresh baked bread that we slice very thinly. It's our honey whole wheat bread, and then we fry it so it's nice and crispy. And then yogurt cheese. So yogurt cheese, we basically just take some plain yogurt from Sugar River Dairy, and we mix it with garlic, a little bit of shallot, salt and pepper, and we hang it for 3 days. And it comes out, it's like fresh Chev or fresh cream cheese. Nice and spreadable, so that'll be on the bottom of the plate. Dressing the whole thing is a little clover honey and rice wine vinegar. Super simple. I think it's really interesting because like for years, you know, it's like, oh, Sanford is like the L'Etoile of Milwaukee, and you know, L'Etoile is like the Sanford of Madison, and the history of both the places, and you know,
A lot of parallels.
The generational gap between the former chef owners and who we have now. You know, it's like for Justin and I to both take over restaurants in the way that we did.
And our mentors are both going to retire in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a trip, man.
So for your next course, we are doing a grilled halibut with a braised duck heart and a sweet pea ravioli, a little foie gras brown butter. This dish was kind of inspired by a chef that I used to work for many years back, Stephen Wade. I very vividly remember a dish that he did that was like a potato crusted halibut with a duck sauce. And so I'm making these raviolis the other day, and then this just kept flashing through my head about this combination of duck and halibut.
And it's one of those things where it's like naturally we should collaborate and bring our own energies to each other, you know, and also the food community, I think. I mean, like we sold out without advertising. And
right.
I got tiny fingers, dog. Surgical. I like the brown butter and the squeeze bottle, bro. It's clutch. All right, hi. My course is up next again. So we're gonna do a very classic Korean dish, kimchi soup or a kimchi stew. It's pronounced jjigae, and basically it's like beef broth, homemade kimchi, kind of all cooked together. This one has a little bit of a kick to it. We have some shiitake mushroom, crispy fried rice cake, a little bit of raw egg yolk on top of that. So you are definitely, the first thing you do is just whack that yolk open, get it all mixed in there, and then go at it. This is like the classic part of everything. And then we have some tofu, it's homemade tofu that we marinate. It's pretty spicy too, and nice soft texture. And then finishing the dish is a piece of veal pastrami. So pastrami, obviously not classic, but I love the smoky, spicy, peppery flavor and that meatiness that goes really well in there. And I wanted to change it up a little bit, so we threw that in there. So that's that dish. Chef, you good over there?
Perfect, sir.
You sure you don't want to do eggs?
Can I?
It's just a bad idea.
It's a good idea. I'm making them one at a time.
Hey, I made one when I was thinking about this dish.
Was it delicious?
Yeah, it was super good.
Well, then we'll figure it out.
So it'll lean, it'll move, do what we can. My new system is just to put it on there and not look at it ever again. That way, if it falls off, and I never know. I never know. I already went to my happy place. George Webb's. Man, I really hope that High Life is extra cold. When we were planning the menu, I was like, well, I'm gonna make weird food like I always make and throw some random stuff in there. So it's like pretty classic L'Etoile, my L'Etoile, I guess. It sounded like a good idea at the time.
It is a good idea. I would never have the guts to do that. Nice, thank you.
I'm never gonna think about this dish again. Every time I eat this this stew,
You're gonna remember this?
it's gonna ruin jjigae for me forever.
So for our entree tonight, I'm a big fan of elk. Grew up eating venison, so we're very partial to getting it on the menu tonight. We have a maple mascarpone polenta. We have a grilled elk loin, some roasted wild mushrooms, asparagus, a truffle reduction, and a red wine elk reduction.
The smell of this polenta is killer, man. Is it professional if I lick the spoon? No? Probably not. You guys kill it.
How many of you guys still got back there?
That's it. Savory food done.
We have a beer pairing for this course, kind of a collaboration between John Lavelle, who has the beer fridge, and George and Sean, who makes a lot of beer with George. This is their brainchild, and I got to sit in it, which was a very educational experience for me, but they kind of combined their knowledge of beer and everything to create the beer that you guys have for dessert, or will get shortly for dessert. And we kind of crafted a dessert around to match up to this beer. So for dessert, we have a semolina walnut cake, roasted grapes, and a rosemary parmesan ice cream.
You got extra ice cream?
We do.
This is where we make out. the post-dessert makeout session?
You
guys don't do that here?
Every once in a while, on special occasions. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for joining us tonight for this, I think, a very special night that we've had here.
Thank you
guys for coming out tonight.
Wisconsin Foodie would like to thank the following underwriters for their support: the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board and the Dairy Farm Families of Wisconsin, Outpost Natural Foods Co-op, Superior Equipment and Supply, the restaurants of Potawatomi Bingo Casino, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, Something Special from Wisconsin, and Colectivo Coffee Roasters.
Yo, you got that electric knife, man?
Oh yeah. When I started here, I was like, really? Electric knife? And then we started using it, I was like, oh yeah, electric knife.
I've thought about it, man. I've thought about it.
We can probably do that quail soon then, hey? 2 quail.
Freaking knife, man. That knife is killer, dude.
Can we just get an audio track on that knife, please?
It's like, what is going on? Oh yeah, the knife.